Hello, this is the Bible in fewer words. We are Carol and Steve Wells. This is episode 88, Judges, chapter 7. If you enjoy this podcast, consider supporting us at patreon.com/BFW. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Carol.
How are you today?
Oh, I'm great.
Great is better than good.
Well, that's because this is one of my favorite chapters in the Bible. I love Judges 7.
You love Judges 7.
Yeah.
No spoilers yet, though, I think.
Okay.
All right. Let's go ahead and get started.
Well, but maybe we should just remind people that we've been talking about Gideon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that we were introduced to him in the last episode.
Yes, he was a tester.
He tested God 3 times, right?
Yes.
First an angel and then God twice.
Mm-hmm.
With that cool, I'm going to put my fleece on the ground and you're going to, God,
Yes.
make it wet, the ground around dry, and then switch it.
The next day.
And God did that, no problem. And now we're in the next chapter.
Chapter 7. God said to Gideon, "There are too many people with you. If you defeat the Midianites, people will say that you did it without my help. So say to the people, whoever is afraid should leave."
Yeah, so the whole deal with the test that Gideon did in the last chapter was that God came to him, the angel came to him and said, "You're going to lead my fight against the Midianites." Because, we did the usual thing. They're doing evil. The cycle. This time it's the Midianites, and God was selecting Gideon as the guy who's going to lead the people against the Midianites.
And defeat the Midianites.
Defeat them, yeah.
And now God is worried that it's not going to look like God did it.
Exactly. There were so many people there that he gathered up that when they defeat the Midianites, it's going to look like they did it instead of God. So send
a bunch of your people home.
Well, he said the first thing he does is say, send the ones that are afraid home. Send the chicken shits home. Which is a good plan. And it says here that 22,000 left with 10,000 remaining. So now there's only 10,000 with them. They had 32,000. Now there's only 10,000.
And they are, if I remember right, there were a lot of Midianites. So they needed a big army.
Yeah, it's going to mention that too. Coming up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So God said to Gideon, "There are still too many people. Bring them down to the water, and I'll decide which of them will go with you." He's going to give him a drink of water?
Yeah, this is the plan. So Gideon brought the people down to the water, and God said to him, "Those who lap water with their tongues like a dog will go with you. Those who kneel down and drink will stay." Isn't that a great plan? Why don't they select soldiers that way? Yes. That is God's way of selecting soldiers. And you get it, right?
I get it.
It makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
So the guys that were on all fours, they didn't touch their knees to the ground and bend down like that. They just went right down with their faces into the water and lapped it with their tongues. Those are the ones that God wants. The ones who kneel down and then maybe put in their water and are polite with a cup. Cupped it with their hand. Those he didn't want.
Okay, that is the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Yes,
like separating people based on how they drink water out of a lake.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I love this chapter so much.
Okay, so verse 6. There were 300 who lapped water like a dog.
Yeah, only 300. So we started with 32,000, and there were 22,000 that were afraid. Mm-hmm. So they took the, 10,000 down to the water?
Yes.
And he watched, I guess.
All
10,000. And out of those, there were only 300 that lapped water like a dog. So
that's not a very big army.
No,
to
only
fight
300.
all the Midianites.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's going to look like it's a miracle now.
Right. That's the whole plan. Yeah.
Okay. So, all the rest drank water on their knees.
So God said to Gideon, "I'll save you with the 300 that lapped water like a dog. Send all the others home."
I still can't get over that. So the 300 men who lapped water like dogs went with Gideon. Everyone else went home.
That same night, God said to Gideon, "Get up and fight the Midianites. I've delivered them into your hand. If you're afraid to go alone, go with Phurah, your servant. When you hear what they say, you'll be brave enough to attack them."
Okay, I have to think this through a little bit. If you're afraid to go alone.
Remember like Barak was?
Oh, Barak was
Deborah?
afraid to go alone.
Right.
Yes, he said.
It's like that. If you're afraid, take your servant, you're probably slave, Pharaoh, and go with him. Because I guess he must be big and strong or something. I don't know.
So when you hear what they say, what does that mean, though?
Well, we're going to find out.
Oh, all right. But there were more Midianites and Amalekites than could be counted, like the sand on the seashore.
Yeah. See, there you go.
That's what I
So
thought.
they're gonna beat these guys with only 300, and there's more guys than there are sand, like on all the seashores.
Oh,
of the
they're
world.
enemy. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's
Going to be pretty impressive.
right now it's pretty imbalanced.
Okay, so verse 13. When Gideon came back to camp, there was a man who had a dream, and who told his friend, I dreamed there was a barley cake that fell into the Midianite camp. When the cake came to a tent, it knocked the tent over.
Okay, this is a strange dream.
Yeah, but it's important.
All right. His friend said, This is the sword of Gideon. God has delivered Midian into his hand.
When Gideon heard about the dream, he said to his soldiers, Get up, because God has delivered the Midianites into your hand. It was just that dream of barley cake that knocked over the tent. Some guy had it. He told it to Gideon, and that was it. Somebody else said, well, this is the sword of Gideon. And then Gideon says, oh, okay.
Great.
We're
We're all
good
set.
to go. Yeah.
He wasn't quite sure about God then.
No, he wasn't sure. He was a little bit afraid.
And when he's left with just 300 men, and he knows there's a lot of Midianites.
But God told him, I think that's what God was referring to here, when you hear what they say.
When you hear the barley cake
When you hear
story.
about that dream, then you'll be brave enough to attack them. Yeah, so now he is.
Now he's brave enough.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a barley cake, just so you know. But maybe I'll have to look it up now. It'll give me strength or...
It knocked over a tent.
Knocked over a tent. All right. So Gideon divided the 300 men into 3 groups and gave every man a trumpet and some empty pitchers with lamps inside the pitchers. Oh.
He told them, when I blow my trumpet, blow your trumpets and say,
The sword of the Lord and of Gideon.
So they all blew their trumpets, broke their pitchers, and shouted, The sword of the Lord and of Gideon. So isn't that a plan? So they had a trumpet and they had a pitcher. And then they blew their trumpet and broke their pitcher and said the sword of the Lord. That's quite a strategy.
Well,
that must have scared those guys to death to see that.
Yes.
Because they had no weapons, right? Because their 2 hands were
occupied.
Were occupied with the
trumpet
and the pitcher.
And the pitcher was holding a candle.
Yeah.
So they're doing this at night then.
It would be kind of acrobatic to have all that stuff, but no weapons.
No weapons. So all the Midianites, I guess it worked. All the Midianites screamed and ran away. And God forced the Midianites to kill each other while the Israelites chased after them.
Yeah, that's what it says.
The Midianites, all the
Midianites-
people on the same team were killing each other.
Well, they were horrified because they saw these guys, these 300 guys, with
a trumpet.
pitchers and trumpets, blowing their trumpets, breaking their pitchers.
Very
So
scary.
it freaked them out, and they just decided, let's kill each other. So they all killed each other. Well, God forced them to kill each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was God's trick, forcing the Midianites to kill each other.
Right.
Because that would be much better than having Gideon's men run at them with a trumpet. I mean,
Yeah, right. They had to do something, right? Yeah.
Okay, so this is verse 25.
Yeah.
The men of Ephraim. Who's Ephraim?
Ephraim is one of the tribes, and Gideon had all the tribes together. No.
Okay. The men of Ephraim killed the 2 princes of Midianite, Oreb and Zeb, and brought their heads to Gideon.
And that's the end of chapter 7. And we should mention that this is a famous chapter for another reason, this and the previous,
Oh, why?
because that's the chapter that inspired the Gideons to do their Bible thing. The Gideon's Bible, that's where it comes from.
Oh, that's right.
And if we have a Gideon's Bible, and we just checked this morning, and on it has the emblem of the vase
Yes.
with the little lantern. Yeah. And,
So it's a pitcher, actually.
Sorry.
So it has 2 handles on it, and there's a candle on the inside.
yeah.
And they don't mention the candles.
No.
And what happens to
You
them
mean in
in the battle Was it at night? Were they fighting at night?
No, I don't remember anything about that. It sounded like they just had the pitchers. Mm-hmm. They broke the pitchers and blew the trumpet. But that
did
worked.
it.
I don't know why military people don't do that more. You wouldn't need any other weapons.
Trumpet and a pitcher.
Yeah, just get 300 guys with pitchers and trumpets. You're good to go.
Yes. So who decided we're going to have Gideon Bible now?
First, there were two guys, maybe the third came along, who were traveling. I don't know if they were salesmen or not, but traveling businessmen. They ran into each other. They prayed, because that's what Christian businessmen do. Uh-huh. And they got inspired to start this organization that would spread the Bible, make the Bible available to people.
To traveling businessmen.
Traveling.
In particular,
right,
I guess.
Right. It wasn't real clear about that, but I think, anyway, that's how
it started.
That's how Gideon started. Mm-hmm.
The Gideon Bible.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is very interesting, Steve.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
It's a very fun story.
Yeah. Okay. Listeners, thanks for staying with us. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.